Trent Cotney and John Kinney are dedicated to helping the construction industry with legal business and safety challenges. Welcome to this week's episode of Law and Mortar.
Hey, this is Trent Cotney. I'd like to welcome everybody to another episode of Law and Mortar. As always, I've got John Kenny. John, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Trent. It's good to be here again today. The weather's a lot nicer in our home area of Florida than I'm watching it in the rest of the country. So stay warm out there. I've seen some low temperatures that really make me want to get under those covers and shiver myself.
I know I was up in Chicago in the Pacific Northwest just a few weeks ago and came back here and it was about 75 degrees. So it's it's always this time of year where I'm going, okay, this is why I'm in Florida.
Yeah, we cannot complain. I
Yep.
saw up in Maine this weekend. Anybody listening from the Maine area in New England, they expect wind chills of 60, 70, and they even have a record low of 90 below wind chill. I heard on the Weather Channel this morning. That rattles my mind. I can't even
Wow.
imagine that.
That's nuts. And well, actually that's actually a really good segue to something that I kind of want to open up with, and that's safety. You and I have both, dealt in the safety world. You obviously, and your role throughout various, construction companies and guiding crew and things like that. My role more from the ocean defense side of things. But you know, this is always a great time of year, first quarter, to really evaluate your safety program. And if we got safety directors or people like that that are listening to this, clearly you guys are the experts. But for management and owners, you need to think about it holistically. And we've had it's only been 1 month this year, and we've had so many OSHA calls, injuries, fatalities, just all kinds of stuff. A lot of it's related to cold weather. We've had a lot of cold weather incidents, everything from, hypothermia to frostbite to all these different types of things, and the stuff that kind of comes out of that, whether it's recordable or reportable, that kind of stuff. And then of course, general fall protection. Skylights, that's one of those things I can't hit it home enough. If you're working on any kind of project that's got a skylight, you do a specialized toolbox talk in advance. Really make sure that you're safeguarding those areas, covering them, flagging them, doing whatever you got to do to prevent people from stepping on them or falling through them. But John, when you're talking to your consulting clients about safety, what kind of things are coming up, I guess, from the business perspective?
Well, the biggest thing is, you can't safety something that you can't fake. It has to really be an entrenched culture in your company. A lot of companies, I mean, let's take a broad view first. You're a roofing contractor, any other contractor, you should have three basic mottos that you live and die by in the field. First is safety, because without safety, nothing else really matters. You have to have that. Then you got to have your quality. You got to have quality of what your installs are, and then finally production. And a lot of companies think, well, you got to have production or nothing else matters. No, actually, production will increase along with quality if you get that safety culture trained in. And what I mean by that is you have to start from the top all the way down, and it has to be, I'm not doing, the field can't feel, oh, I'm doing this. This is a pain. They got to understand that this is part of keeping them alive, keeping them profitable, keeping their jobs going, and get this so they look out for each other so everyone goes home safe at night. You brought up a good point, Trent, about winter. Being in both ends of the spectrum, roofing both in the South and originally from the North, you do have to watch out for a few things. Why do accidents increase when it's cold? Because you lose feeling. You may have thick gloves on and not know when you're climbing or when you're grabbing. Frostbite hits quicker than you can realize in a lot of your extremities, and you lose control. And one other thing is they do not drink enough in the winter. You actually can dehydrate faster in the winter months than you do in the summer because you're not drinking at all because it's cold out. So you got to keep all these things in mind. Cramps. Somebody gets a cramp getting on a ladder because they're dehydrated. They got a good chance of slipping and falling. So again, that's why you got to continue on with the culture. But I always I've written some articles, and I know people have commented back, good comments about world-class safety culture. And really what that means is you want to get that entrenched into your company from the top person all the way down to the brand new hire, that safety really is what this company's about. And you're going to be all right with it that way.
Right. And, it's interesting, not only is safety important, obviously we all want our employees to go home safe and sound every night, but the Biden administration's really started putting some teeth into OSHA enforcement. In fact, there's just a press release that literally just came out while we were talking. The Department of Labor announced that their enforcement guidance is going to change, and they're really going to start targeting employers who put profit over safety. So one of those questions that an OSHA officer will ask your crew is, were you told to go faster? Is that why you didn't have a harness on, or is that why you weren't tied off, or is that why you didn't erect the scaffolding properly, whatever, because you had to meet a deadline. And they load up those types of questions. In those instances, kind of what OSHA's saying, and I haven't had a chance to really digest everything just yet, but they are saying that they're going to look to, citing employers for more willful type violations in the event that profit is put over safety. So you need to really be careful about that. I'm a big believer in not only, engaging in safety training for your crew, but allow them to understand what an OSHA inspection looks like. Take that anxiety away so they understand, what it looks like, how always tell the truth, always cooperate, that kind of stuff, but know your rights as well, right? And I think that's sort of an important aspect that's often overlooked within construction companies. So stay tuned for more on that. That literally, John, just came in my email, so I'm going to digest that and hopefully get some other stuff out on that.
Yeah,
but
that's a great point, Chip. It's not going away, and it's not even just going to be with the Biden administration. It's there's just too many accidents happening for whatever reasons. And one, I just want to take this last second. Thank you to all the companies out there that really put safety first and do the right thing. And we got to do better as that part of the industry, broadcasting out how well we do it and start to really push and weed out, the bad apples that really just don't want to participate in doing the right thing, which is what creates all of these issues like you're talking about with a memorandum going out to start cracking down.
Yeah, and it's interesting because safety it permeates every aspect of a construction company, right? I mean, it's not just what you think about on projects. It's safety related to your equipment, and the things that you're using on a job site. From a liability perspective, and I want our listeners to kind of pay attention to this because it's often overlooked. If you've got equipment on a job site, let's say it's a lull or a lift or a crane or a truck or anything, and you leave it there for subs to use, or you leave it there unprotected so that other people can use it, you potentially have liability in the event that they cause harm to person or property. So one of the things you want to do is obviously safeguard your equipment to make sure others can't use it. If you're going to let them use it, then you need to do at least a couple of things. One, verify that they have the requisite insurance and they've named you as additional insured. So you absolutely want to make sure that you're covered that way. The second thing is that you should have an equipment lease, right? That basically talks about you loaning the equipment to them, that they agree to indemnify you, they agree to notify you if there's any problems, all these types of things, so that you've got some kind of written documentation that will hopefully protect you in the event that something goes wrong. Just a few months ago, we had a client that let one of their subs use a crane, and the crane collapsed. Okay, and then of course everybody's getting sued: the sub, the owner of the crane, everybody. So you really need to think about that. It's real easy to do, and you always want to do the right thing and be a nice guy, but at the end of the day, that could cause you a lot of heartache and a lot of problems. John, you ever experienced anything like that either in your days as a contractor? Or
we didn't have back a few years back, we didn't have the knowledge or the wherewithal to have the release forms right on the job site, but I highly recommend now. You got to have them, and it's a quick thing to sign. Somebody wants to borrow it, Some of the things we didn't have that is I would make a decision if I was out running the job that if you needed to use my Lowell to lift something over around the building, I would rather have my operator do it and take that 20 minutes out of my schedule to do that favor so that I would get a favor in return. But at least it was under my umbrella, right? We trained, we know we got everything right because it's a big risk. You don't you know who they're putting on. You don't know who they're going to run over. You don't know any of that. And you know, and you're just, it's kind of like playing Russian roulette when you lend your stuff out without proper protection.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we look on the horizon, you know, I've got a few things on the travel itinerary. Obviously, you and I are always doing webinars, but where's your next event, John?
Well, I'm traveling in 2 weeks, not too far, to south part of Florida. I'm going down to the Roofing Contractors Association of Southwest Florida, or South Florida, I'm sorry, on the East Coast. And I'm doing a presentation on businessman, you know, running your roofing company, financial presentation. And then after that, my next trip is the same place that you're going, out to the IRE. It's what, 3 or 4 weeks away. We've been talking about it for a while, but it's coming quick. So at that one, I'm going to enjoy. I'm going to be speaking at the National Women in Roofing Day. And then at the very end of the show, I have a presentation on Thursday. And then after that, I'll go one more month or one more trip out further than that. Two. In April, I'm doing for a local here in Polk County Roofers Association, doing a presentation. I love getting out to the organizations where you can pop in a car and you can make a trip and get there. And, you know, you kind of know the roofers locally. And then in May, I got an opportunity to go up to St. John's in Canada. So shout out to the Canadian Roofing Contractors Association. I have never been to St. John's. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm doing two business presentations there at their annual conference. So excited to be doing that.
That's a good gig, John. I may have to tag along on that one, but yeah, I tell you, you know, you list off some good ones right there. South Florida group, strong group, you know, they one of the strongest groups in Florida, and always good turnout, good attendance. And yeah, I'll be at IRE. In fact, I was just trying to get my swag together, getting ready to go. So, you know, I think that then looking at the schedule, you and I are both equally busy traveling all over the place.
Yeah.
It seems like every other week there's something that's going on where we're traveling. But I think we've covered a lot today, John. So I think it's that time. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. I'm looking forward to see what our question is today.
All right, it's still backed up, but okay. I'm going to keep to the safety theme today. This question is from Brian, and Brian's question is, how often do you think you should engage in anonymous safety audits of job sites? So I'll turn that over to you, John.
So I think that is a fantastic question, and I will tell you, it's a multi-part answer. Honestly, every time your foreman should be doing an anonymous safety check, your crew leader every single day. He should be watching his own crew. That's an unannounced. It should be in there, right? Every time you have someone visit that job site, such as your superintendent, project manager, quality control, whatever that happens to be in your company, that should be an unannounced safety check as well. You're coming for another purpose. As they see, you're checking it. But now let's jump to the higher end of that question. Say, you know, whatever, you're an operations manager or higher, or you're the owner of the company and you're going out. You know, take advantage of these, you know, some nice drone inspections. When you got your people out there, you get some drones. Those you should be looking at weekly. And I know you can't get there as an owner every week, but if you're an operations manager, I hate to say it, but the more you can do a check on your own safety, along with your production and everything, the better off it's going to be. And one advantage to being in the north is we had hills. One of the things I used to like to do was have a job site and have a higher hill area that I could go, take a ride up, pull over, walk, even if I had to walk in the woods a little bit to see the roof with binoculars. I always liked to see what was going on. And it was not to spy on the workers. It was to make sure everything is right safety. So the more you can do it, you know, unconspicuously, whether it's with a drone and, you know, that, but let them know it's going to happen. Let them know that anytime, any day, there could be a safety inspection, someone watching, eye in the sky type of deal, and they don't know. It's good for your crews to know that. to always be thinking about safety. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, I think that's some great points that you made. I think the number of audits you do depends on your size and how many projects you're running, but you want to do at least one or two a month, for sure, regardless of how big you are. And here's the key thing is if you find problems, don't just discipline pursuant to your safety manual, but retrain and have that documentation that shows you retrain so that if OSHA comes out, you can show it to them. So with that, John, I'm going to wrap it up. As
All
always,
right.
want to thank everybody. Really appreciate all our loyal listeners. Thank you for making us the #1 construction law podcast out there. Stay tuned next week for another episode of Law and Mortar. If you need me, you can reach me at trent.cotney@arlaw.com. John, how can they get you?
Give me at jkenny@cotneyconsulting.com.
Great. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
Take care now.